By late 1862, the war was a stalemate. The South had the better generals. The North had the men and machines. But in a span of 12 months, the entire nature of the conflict changed. It shifted from a war to save the Union to a crusade to set men free. Welcome to Part 3. We are walking the blood-soaked cornfield at Antietam, standing on Little Round Top at Gettysburg, and digging into the mud at Vicksburg. This is the moment the tide turned. The South's high water mark happened in this video. To see how close the Confederacy came to winning and why they failed, subscribe and keep watching. In September 1862, Robert E. Lee invaded the North, hoping to win European recognition. He was met by George McClellan at Sharpsburg, Maryland, along Antietam Creek. What followed was the single bloodiest day in American history. In a place known as the cornfield, bullets flew so thick they cut the stalks down like a scythe. In a sunken farm road, later called Bloody Lane, bodies were stacked 3 deep. By nightfall, 23,000 men were casualties. Lee retreated, giving Lincoln the strategic victory he desperately needed. Lincoln used the victory at Antietam to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. On January 1, 1863, he declared that all enslaved people in rebel territory were forever free. It didn't free everyone immediately, but it changed the war's purpose. It was no longer just about politics, it was about human freedom. This opened the door for African American men to fight. The 54th Massachusetts, led by Robert Gould Shaw, proved their bravery at Fort Wagner. Frederick Douglass famously said, "Once let the black man get upon his person the brass letter U.S., and there is no power on earth that can deny that he has earned the right to citizenship." Desperate for a final victory, Lee invaded the North again in July 1863. He met the Union Army at a crossroads town in Pennsylvania called Gettysburg. For 3 days, hell broke loose. On the second day, the Union left flank was saved by a college professor named Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. Out of ammunition, he ordered a bayonet charge down Little Round Top. On the third day, Lee gambled everything. He sent 12,500 men under George Pickett to march across a mile of open field toward the Union center. It was known as Pickett's Charge. They were decimated by artillery. General Lewis Armistead crossed the stone wall, the high water mark of the Confederacy, but was immediately shot down. Lee rode out to meet the survivors, saying, "It is all my fault." The South would never recover. While Gettysburg raged in the east, Ulysses S. Grant was winning the west. He had laid siege to Vicksburg, Mississippi, the last Confederate stronghold on the river. For 47 days, he bombarded the city. Civilians dug caves into the clay hills to survive. They ate mules, dogs, and even rats. On July 4, 1863, one day after Gettysburg ended, Vicksburg surrendered. Grant had cut the Confederacy in two. The Mississippi River became a Union highway. July 1863 was the turning point. The South lost men they couldn't replace. The North was growing stronger. Lincoln traveled to Gettysburg in November to dedicate the cemetery. In just 272 words, he redefined the nation. He spoke of a government of the people, by the people, for the people. The tide had turned, but the killing was far from over. That concludes Part 3. The South is broken, but not beaten. Next, we see the rise of total war and the burning of Atlanta. Subscribe so you don't miss the finale. Lee blamed himself for the failure at Gettysburg. Do you think the South ever had a real chance to win the war? Or was it lost the moment they fired on Fort Sumter? Debate it in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.